Welcome back, everyone. The video you're about to watch is part of a live stream series that I do on Twitch where I teach people how to build an Android app from start to finish by building a task management application. I've removed the episode numbers from the videos because it's designed that each one can be consumed individually. Each week, I pick a particular topic or feature and focus on just that for the live stream. If you are interested in watching the full playlist, check out the links in the description below. But if you just found this one and it intrigues you, I hope you enjoy it and let me know what you think. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to the new chatters in chat today. Three people sent your first message today. Thank you all for coming by. Um, you picked a wonderful time to start because I am so unprepared today. Um, just because my schedule was a little rushed today, partly because our doggo is not doing very well and he had to make a little vet trip this afternoon. So I'm technically still eating. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep my webcam on and we can chat for a little bit to start, if y'all don't mind, while I finish some eating. Um, and then we can dive into the coding stuff today. Uh, but hope y'all are doing well. Anyone have anything exciting that they did this week? Just randomly. Anyone who had like a fun win this week, or could be anything. Played a new video game, started a new show. What'd y'all do this week? Once I eat enough of this, we can switch to coding, but it's much easier to just chat at the same time. Meeting sushi tonight. You started Succession. How is that? Plump, thank you for coming by. Also, shout out Plump, Coco Type, Jerry. Everyone, if you enjoy, you're not boring, Plump. Um, Everyone who comes to hang out for the Android stuff, give a follow to Coco Type in the chat, who does some iOS streaming 3 times a week. They usually start after I do, so if I have a chance afterwards, sometimes they get a raid. So do check them out. Um, I'm gonna call you JP, although I think it's J Pargam, but JP, thank you for coming by. Thank you for the follow. Mm, who else can I introduce in chat? So Plump is new. Plump is not a software developer, I don't think, but they are one of my two's partners in chat. Actually, two of my duo partners are in chat right now, so I feel like my two like affairs are meeting each other right now. This is a little awkward for me. Am I actually into mechanical keyboards? I never got into it. Um, and I have like a really like selfish reason for that, and it's because like I'm a very aggressive typer. Like I type fast, I type loud, and I'm just like mechanical keyboards are way too clacky for me, and I'm pretty sure my fiance would break up with me if I had a mechanical keyboard in the house. I know that there are non-clacky mechanical keyboards, but we should do threes sometimes. Plum says he's not a threes player, but I bet we can make it work. You're right. Okay, it's the opposite of a selfish reason. I feel like it's just very egotistical to be like, I type too crazy. Like, yeah, I always feel weird when I play with Plump or Matt, but then like one of you sees me online and sends me a party invite, and I'm like, clearly I'm playing because Epic is a snitch, but I can't I can't satisfy everyone. How did your threes grind go last night? I played like two threes games after work today because I'm trying to get up to champ there too. Right. Like I feel like the selling point of a mechanical keyboard is the sound, and it's so satisfying. when I've tried some of my friends, I'm like, the feel, the sound, it's so good. It makes me feel good, but um and I mean I have like so when I bought my gaming PC, I bought a cheap like 20 $30 like keyboard mouse combo on Amazon. Like here's the keyboard, which is like has its own clackiness and it is RGB. It lights up when it's plugged in, but it's not like one that is like customly assembled. And I think Matt mentioned my wallet because I know I would totally go like hyper fixate on mechanical keyboards and buy expensive keycaps and custom keycaps and stuff. Carried to D3. I so one time I was really close. The first time I got really close to champ was actually in threes. I got to Diamond 3, Div 4 in threes. I had like an 11 game win streak one day, and then I couldn't do it. I hit D4 like several times that day, and I just could not cross the threshold. It was driving me nuts. Yeah. Again, for anyone who's coming in, I'm just I'm delayed, so I'm finishing up some food before we start coding. So we're just hanging out, talking about Rocket League, talking about keyboards. I had originally asked if anyone had done anything exciting this week, so if you've joined and you have something cool that you did this week and you want to share it, do it. The only new Android news, well, not the only, but a piece of Android news that stuck out for me is the new Canary for Android Studio is out today, and I believe it's called Dolphin. Um, it just occurred to me that like the new versioning for Android Studio, they're animals and they're going through the alphabet. Um, and it just occurred to me that like C was chipmunk, but they had a chance to call it canary, and they could be like Android Studio Canary is in the Canary channel. Feel like they missed an opportunity to just be obnoxious there. I mean, I'm glad they didn't, but do you think we will get a foldable Pixel this year? I have not looked into the rumors deeply, and I've seen both headlines suggesting a Pixel Fold, but also headlines saying the Pixel Fold is not happening. So I don't know what to believe. Whether or not it's this year, I don't know, but I can see Google investing in their own foldable phone at some point. I could see it. Um, they seem to be buying into more form factors on Android Studio Bird Canary. Yeah, I like that. Um, they seem to be buying into more form factors from a software perspective. The way they keep pushing that in like their tweets, the way they are investing in like Jetpack Window Manager and stuff like that. We've seen they're starting to build like Compose for Wear OS, so I think that maybe the hardware will catch up at some point if they're really pushing this software to support different form factors, but that's still a guess. Do I prefer the tablet style fold or the phone style fold, like the Z Flip? Let me look up the Z Flip because I. Okay, yeah. I don't know. I think I would go for the tablet style. I feel like the Z Flip thing, it feels very much like cell phones used to be, which like I'm all for nostalgia, and I could have a foldable phone. What I really like about those phones that fold up, like in the middle, like the Z Flip and others, is like they would make for such good Game Boy emulators to simulate like the Game Boy Advance, like the first one that folded like that. That would make such a great app. Um, but I feel like the benefit of a foldable phone is screen real estate. So like the Samsung Galaxy Folds that turn into like 7-inch tablets, I feel like that is the more effective foldable phone, in my humble opinion. Um, all right, let's switch over to the coding view. Let's talk about what I'm going to do today, which is also, god dang it, I messed up my monitors again. How do I keep doing this every week? Um, okay, so another one. I got the feeling Android 12L would make sense together with a new tablet or foldable. I agree. That's what I mean. Like 12L is another thing. They're definitely making software pushes toward big screens. So I feel like it's only a matter of time before Google hardware catches up. Um, I've ranted about this before. Like, I am dying for a good Android tablet. And Android tablets are very much a chicken and an egg problem. Like, no one invests in a good tablet app because no one uses Android tablets. But no one wants to use an Android tablet because there's no apps optimized well for it. And so it just creates a circular thing. And I know that there is a space for tablets. Like y'all know that as much as I love Android, I don't really like to shit on Apple products. And like, especially when it comes to iPad. Like, iPads are so impressive. Like every time I see someone use one, I'm like, or I watch WWDC and they announce like new stuff for iPad. I'm like, this is so freaking cool. And I wish that Android stood a chance in the tablet market. Um, yeah, yeah. And also with Wear, like that every time I watch an Apple event and they show off that I don't know if like Apple's just really good at marketing. I mean, I'm sure they're really good at marketing in addition to building cool stuff, but like every time I see an ad for an Apple Watch, I'm like, God, like we can't compete with that. Like Wear OS just doesn't compete with that yet. But it could. Like there's just and I think it's again like a kind of chicken and egg problem that I've also come to recognize the bias I have when I consider the mobile debate from a um, I feel like I've realized I have a very biased perspective when I consider this mobile debate from a US perspective, um, because the share of the mobile market in the United States is so different from like elsewhere in the world, you know. So it just skews my perspective a lot for sure. Um, right. So as the two last chatters pointed out, like there's the classic, Android did it first thing. But like what everyone deserves is like Apple sometimes does it better, you know. And I think there's really interesting going back to the US mindset on that. I think it's a very interesting conversation because of okay, so let me back up where this thought process came from. So I was reading about the whole debate that was going around a while ago about iMessage and how really like Apple's cross-platform SMS being awful is really Apple's fault. And they talked about how they've used bullying as a tactic for increasing iPhone sales. And the way like people bully their friends for having the green text bubbles and stuff. And I can't get that out of my mind on how like that has been like a tactic either directly or indirectly supported by Apple, and it carries over to a lot of other stuff too. It's like, did Apple really do it better, or did Apple convince people that Android sucks so no one invested in instant apps? But when Apple builds instant apps, all of a sudden it's great. Like I think that's an interesting thing. And there are some things that iOS took years to do good at with like that Android did. Like um, it's relatively recent that Apple has supported like stacked notifications, and like I don't know how people live like that. Like I like that a group chat can send me 100 messages, and it's still only one notification row on my phone. When I learned that iPhones used to show every single notification that came through, I'm like, that is awful. I would like have no sanity. Oh, no one built app clips. I've heard that. And another one, which I'm not sure, I think it's too early to tell because they became a big thing last year, but was like home screen widgets, which was once again a thing that has been on Android forever. But Apple has made very good use out of them, and Android seems to come back. Like some of the widgets supported in Android 12 are pretty good. And I've added some widgets to my home screen that I'm using, and I really like them. Um, I want to eventually do a stream on building an app widget. We just haven't gotten around to that yet. Oh yeah, iMessage reactions now showing up in Google Messages. That's exciting. Um, okay, so I'm gonna slowly start moving toward what I wanted to work on tonight, which was uh what did I want to work on? I made an issue for this. I wanted to add a code coverage report. Um, So I've talked about this in the past. There's a tool out there called Coveralls. And before I put it up on the screen, I'm going to use my other monitor because I've noticed that logging into my GitHub account, I can also see some Coveralls stuff from work, and I want to make sure that I don't show something I'm not supposed to. But Coveralls is a tool that will record your code coverage, and you can keep track of like your coverage trends over time. You can set thresholds for like minimum code coverage, things like that. Um, uh, yeah, let me get something set up and then we'll talk about it. Um, oh, this is on. Um, okay. The other thing I don't like about Coveralls is when you sign in as an admin, it shows your token on the screen. Um, but I've learned that you can regenerate a token. So I think my plan for today is to not worry too much about what y'all see, and then I'm just going to regenerate my token after the stream so no one can screw with me. Um, but it's also long enough that it doesn't usually appear on the full screen. So let's show an example of what coveralls can give us. This is from a side project of mine, a different side project that I'm working on. So we get this like main screen where it shows the repo. This is like code coverage over time. This side project doesn't have a ton of builds to really show like fluctuation, but we can see like high level information when the repo is added. And then let me show you the cool part down here. So it shows our main branch and it shows you the latest build on that main branch and information about it. Like, so the last time this ran, January 28th, our coverage increased 4.3% up to 14.611%. And we can see like some details here, like the number of relevant lines that are covered. Um, and if we want to learn more, like we can go to like this list view and it actually shows us like the coverage for each file in the app. And then you can search on them. Uh, so let me find something that, wow, are these all zero? They might be. Yeah, okay, but if you find something that is not zero, like you see the coverage for that file and some info stuff. So this is a really cool web tool to basically see code coverage information for your applications. Code coverage, by the way, if any of you are unfamiliar with it, I don't know the specifics on how it's calculated, but ultimately what it means is it's a metric for calculating the percentage of your application code that is verified by your test code. So this is a fancy way of saying for this project, 15% of my application code is verified by some test. And verified is like someone might swoop in to say it's not necessarily the best word because it's really just like the percentage of code that gets executed. It's not smart enough to know if like you're writing all the proper assertions. But ideally, if you are, then like, yeah, 15% of your code, its behavior will be validated by your tests. So what I wanted to do was set this up for the TOA application, and then in addition to getting those reports, I was going to show how we can use coveralls to get that coverage information right inside our pull requests, which is super helpful. Um, so we can track over time. Maybe we want to make sure our test coverage never goes down so that every time we add a new feature, we should be adding new tests to go with it. So it's really good for enforcing like, developer experience and processes that way. So we made this issue number 23 a while back. Let me zoom in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new branch for this, and then we'll talk about how we can actually make this work because there's a couple things we have to do. Some of it which might result to copy and pasting, by the way, um, but we'll see. Have I heard of mutation testing? I have not. What is that about? Um, so with coveralls, something I want to say first is so several streams back. I'll take a look at that in a second. several streams back, we added a code coverage tool called Cover with a K, which is from the Kotlin team. It was very interesting. We showed how we could get unit test coverage from that. Um, but what we don't get from Cover is we don't get like our instrumentation test coverage. So on Android we have like our standard JVM unit tests, and then we have our instrumentation tests, which are like device tests that run a physical emulator and they verify like UI behavior. Um, with the cover library right now, there's no way to get all of the coverage from both of those together into one file. But there is a coverage tool called JaCoCo, which will do that for us. So we're going to add JaCoCo in here. We'll talk about how that setup works. We will need it to run like two tests, our unit tests and our UI tests, have them combine the reports, and then we can have that report sent up to Coveralls. And then on our pull requests, we should see all the relevant information. So that's basically going to be the outline for today's stream. We'll go through it step by step. Let's look at this mutation testing that Raphael sent real quick. So, interesting. Okay, so what is mutation testing? Um, Faults or mutations are automatically seeded into your code. Then your tests are run. If your tests fail, then the mutation is killed. If your tests pass, then the mutation lived. The quality of your tests can be gauged from the percentage of mutations killed. Interesting. Okay, put another way, Pit runs your unit tests against automatically modified versions of your application code. When the application code changes, it should produce different results and cause the unit test to fail. If a unit test does not fail in this situation, it may indicate an issue with the test suite. Interesting, this makes a lot of sense. Right, so this is actually what I was just saying earlier. Traditional test coverage measures only which code is executed by your test. It does not check that your tests are actually able to detect faults in the executed code. It's therefore only able to identify code that is definitely not tested. Um, Interesting. So I wonder how this works. Um, hmm, is there an example of this? Oh, there's like a Maven plugin we could use to try this out. Okay, maybe we'll try this out sometime. Thanks for sharing this. Check this out. Check out the link in chat if you're interested. Um, gotcha. That makes sense. Okay, so now I've got the debate on how I want to do this code coverage implementation, and I could try to find all the documentation, but I kind of want to go through like my other project where I made this work and kind of just copy and paste some code. Um, and walk y'all through it step by step that way. Because the other thing with JaCoCo is like there is like a JaCoCo Android plugin, but I think it's like it looks out of date, but it technically still works. It's its whole thing. So I might just pull some stuff from my other repo. So I'm going to do exactly that actually. The first thing I'm going to do is add the Gradle plugins that we're going to use in this project. So we're going to open up our root level build.gradle file, and I'm going to add a couple plugins here, or version numbers here. So there will be the JaCoCo Android plugin and a Coveralls Gradle plugin version. And then now that I have those, we can go ahead and add the plugins down here. So there's this Hiya JaCoCo Android Gradle plugin, and then there's this Gradle plugin for Coveralls, which will basically send that code coverage report to the Coveralls website for us. Um, we'll let that sync, and oh man, Wait, why do I have... There's so much going on in this other project that I don't understand. Um, so let's talk about other steps. So another step we're going to have to take um, is a step for Coveralls, which actually might already be, or for JaCoCo, which might actually already be in here. Let me check on this real quick. Aha. So one thing is for our debug build type, we actually want to make sure we set test coverage enabled true, which will generate a Gradle task that JaCoCo uses for generating the debug Android instrumentation test coverage. So that's what that line is going to do. Um, the next thing we can do, we've talked about this before, when I do have libraries like this or third-party tools, I like to have a build scripts folder where I can put information about each sort of plugin in its own file. So let's make a jacoco.gradle file here where we could put in all the information we need for running JaCoCo. So let's copy and paste some code and then I'll tell you what it is. Because the other part of this is like, I don't know with deep certainty what each of these steps are. I just know that I need them because I basically copy and paste them from project to project. So let's try to talk about what's happening. So the first thing, we need to apply the Gradle plugin for JaCoCo. We override the JaCoCo, the underlying JaCoCo version, which I think the latest one is 0.8.7. It's at least the one that works with Kotlin 1.5, so that's important. This line, I don't remember why we need this, but I think something about like telling JaCoCo to exclude certain packages from the coverage file, which we'll do more of this later when we wanted to exclude some of our own files, and I'll talk about in a minute about why we would do that. The next thing we're going to do, okay, I'm going to do that thing that some people hate, but I'm going to copy code and then I'm going to, do I want to copy it? I do because it's long, and then I'm going to walk you through it. So don't panic yet. Don't panic. It's a lot of code. Don't panic. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a Gradle task called Combined JaCoCo Test Report. And what this is going to do is basically run each set of our tests, take the coverage report from both of them, and put them into one overall coverage report. So that leads into some of the syntax here. So type is just a way of specifying like a category for the Gradle task. So that would actually end up here. Like these folders in this Gradle task, those are the type. So if I were to do a Gradle sync, we would see like JaCoCo report show up over here, I believe. And then we'd say that it depends on these other tasks, which are test debug unit test and create debug coverage report. What depends on basically means is when I execute this task, we need to make sure that these run first. So we don't have to like remember every time that we need to run our tests first. Like if we do this by saying depends on, we know these will get run. Okay, and I'm sorry, now group is what gets called to the folder. So this is the verification group. So our task would end up here in this folder. We can give it a description. And let's put some comments on here as we go along. That might help. So if this is a collection of files within our own code base that we want to exclude from coverage reports. So why would you do this? You would do this if you have like generated code that you're not going to write tests for because it's generated. So if you're using retrofit, if you're using Apollo GraphQL, tools like that, maybe even in composed destinations, some of those files might show up in your code base and they're going to have 0% coverage, but that's expected, right? So we can like exclude those. And an example here is like data binding. We don't use it in this app because it's fully composed, but any any files generated by the data binding library, we don't want those included in our coverage percentage. So we can modify this as we go, but okay. And then there's the reports. So we could specify the type of JaCoCo reports that should be created. Um, generated classes. So this is exactly this portion of. I don't remember why this is here. Um, I don't remember why this is here. Uh, I might have to ask my coworker who wrote this if he knows. Um, but one thing is we also need to add, I believe what this does is this just adds all of the source code directories. So it knows which lines of code like are included overall, right? And then it basically gets like test code out of these files is how it calculates the percentage. This is not the most thorough explanation. Um, but then this is where the magic happens. This line is basically there will be this file for the unit test coverage. There will be this file for the Android test coverage. And then this execution data, this basically takes those two files and combines them for us. So, without explaining it line by line necessarily, because I definitely don't know um, it well enough, that is the rough explanation of what's happening here. So, what's the last thing we need to do? The last thing we need to do for this is well, not the last thing. The next thing is we also need to configure coveralls. So let's make a coveralls.gradle file. And this one's a lot quicker to implement. Um, we basically apply the plugin. We tell it the report path. So this is the output of those combined reports. Go to like report slash JaCoCo slash combined JaCoCo test report slash combined JaCoCo test report.xml. And then we also say that coveralls depends on combined report. So we can't run the coveralls plugin until we've run our coverage report itself. So a lot of copy and pasting there going on. Let me know if you want me to walk through that one more time. But that is uh, the main thing going on. So what we can do, I don't have emulator running. What we can do to kind of test this will work is if we go to verification and we run, oops, let me actually get my phone screen shared over here too. Do have to start, right? If we run, where is it at? Is it not here? Oh, I missed a step. Um, we've added the Gradle files. We need them applied to our app module. So we can do this. I think we could do it right up here. We could do apply from, and then we do, it's one directory up, build scripts, JaCoCo.gradle, and then build scripts, coveralls.gradle. And now we do another Gradle sync. We should see the Gradle tasks show up on the sidebar in a second there. Sorry, I'm trying to get my phone screen ready to share in a moment as well. Oh wait, that actually worked. This actually works surprisingly well. I might do this moving forward. I did not expect that to work so well. Um, so now, do we have... combined JaCoCo test report. So let's run this. And what we're going to see is going to happen is it's going to run our unit tests. We should see our handful of UI tests run over here. It's not going to do anything with coveralls yet. but it will shortly. Let me actually pull Coveralls over here, and I'm going to get some stuff set up for that in a moment. Classic test taking forever. While it runs, let's think ahead of the next step here. So, wait, why is this? Okay. Um, so we're going to need to make a change to our CI process with GitHub Actions to do all this. We already have stuff in place to run all of our tests, but we need to update it so that in addition to running the tests, it uploads that information to Coveralls. And one of the ways we're going to need to do that is this Coveralls Gradle task. It's going to look for an environment variable for our Coveralls repo token. And let's talk about how we can implement that with GitHub Actions. So if you've never had to do this, it's really interesting. If you go to these settings for your repo, there will be this tab called Secrets, and then Actions, and then here you could put um, environment secrets. What's the difference between environment and repository secrets? Um, but they're basically environment variables that are encrypted, and you can use these in your actions for sensitive information. So an example could be a repo token for a plugin. It could also be like your local properties file. It could be your Firebase configuration, things that your actions need to run that you don't want committed to the public source control would go there. So like we could hit new secret here. We give it a name. Let's call it Coveralls repo token. And then we put the value in here. And like I said, I'm going to regenerate this after the stream, so uh, don't go reading that anyways, but um, that's how we create the secret. And then once our tests run, because I don't want to get ahead of myself, um, oh, interesting. So the difference is that you can have more than one environment per repo, like deploy versus staging environment. That's really fascinating. So that's where we store the secret, and then I want the test to run before I get ahead of myself, but maybe I just need to keep going. Um, the thing that we'll need to update next is our GitHub Actions workflows. So we have a separate workflow called Android UI tests, um, which that's separate because firing up an emulator takes some time, so I wanted it to be separate from the other processes. But now it's kind of redundant because I want all of my tests to go in the same workflow. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this, and let's just call it code coverage as our workflow. Um, we'll rename this. We'll call this code coverage. We'll have it run on pull request. I think we want to do that. Oh, there go the test. Um, ooh, why did this fail? Apparently this failed. We'll look more into that in a second. Um, in my other project, though, I actually changed the condition for running this a little bit. Um, I wanted it always run on pull request, but then I also wanted it to run whenever we push to development. So this is on push only for development. Otherwise, it's on pull request. Um, and I think that's because I wanted to make sure that like what we saw in the Coveralls dashboard for the main branch was always up to date. Interesting. We have some error here. I'm going to ignore that for a moment, um, and keep going with the coverall setup here. So that's why that's like that. Um, we can also rename this to Android coverage. And let's talk about what is going to need to change in all this. So one thing is that we have a GitHub secret for our coveralls repo token. We also need that to go as an environment variable when this operates. And the way we do that is on the step inside the action, we could type env for like environment variables, and then we give it a name, coveralls repo token. And then we use this like string interpolation syntax to get our secrets.coveralls repo token. And now when the Gradle plugin runs and it wants to reference this environment variable, it will be there. And then now instead of app connected check, we can do app coveralls. I think that should do it. We'll change Android build. This does not need to run tests anymore because it's covered by our other workflow. So let's commit this and let's see how it runs. Adding coveralls integration. This will unfortunately take a while. So once I get this going, maybe we'll just do some more chatting again. Because I really don't want to get ahead of myself on this one. Also, there's a pull request not merged from last week because uh, there's some failing tests on it, and it's just taking me a while to figure out. Um, it was the whole thing, but we'll get there. Okay, here we go. So, adding coveralls integration. So, coveralls will be used to record our test coverage with each PR. We'll put this as tech debt, and this can go in the developer experience project. Um, and we can see code coverage running. So like I said, this will take a while, mainly because we'll be waiting on the emulator to start up. We'll be it'll be its whole thing, but I don't want to jump too far beyond right now. So let me try to figure out. Let's try to figure out again why this failed. Uh, what's the task called? Um, oh well, one thing is we're gonna need to update stream history, and actually this was a thing I wanted to do today as well. Um, I need to clean up this file, but we'll talk about that in a second. In this string, we added JaCoCo for recording code coverage and also sending it to Coveralls. Code coverage. Also, I should add notes. So add JaCoCo, add Coveralls. That's a great question. So the question is, how are they actually running on CI? Does it use Robe Electric or does it actually use an emulator? The answer is it actually uses an emulator. And I'll show you how it does that in a second. So this is really cool and way better than some other CI tools out there. What I really like about GitHub Actions as a continuous integration environment is the ability for the community to create actions that other people can use. And that's exactly how our emulator action works. There is a action from Reactive Circus called Android Emulator Runner. And you can specify some stuff about the emulator, like the API level and things like that. And basically, all this does, just by using this, is it will create an emulator with that config, and then once it's ready, it will run this script. So I know that when the script executed, the emulator is up and running. I believe there's more configuration you can do. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, that's how it works. So I don't even have to do it myself, which like in the past when I used like Travis CI and some other ones, um, you had to like install like the AVD, you had to like create your own emulator. It was a whole ordeal. This makes it a lot easier. Um, oh, this is cool too, that you can do like build matrices, so you could have it run on multiple API levels. Um, Okay, so you can specify like the arch, give it a profile. There's probably a lot more in here. Oh my God, you can even do like NDK. Um, ooh, they even offer caching steps. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, so you could check out, I posted it in chat there. You could check it out, see what else there is. Oh, here's all the configurations. Um, cores, RAM size, emulator options. So that would be cool, actually, because I saw a tweet, I think from Adam Bennett just today, about how you can specify like light or dark mode when you create a virtual device. Um, let me see if it was Adam Bennett real quick. Uh, yes, it was. So let's go to this tweet real quick. Um, so when you create you can basically do like ADB shell and then command UI mode night yes, and that's how you can get night mode running. Um, can't use GitHub on my job though, but I did not even know this was the thing. Yeah, at my job we use Bitrise, so we had to figure out a way on Bitrise to like deal with the emulator, and it was this whole ordeal. I'm really glad that GitHub Actions offers this. I gotta be honest, I love working with GitHub Actions, probably more than like most other CI tools. Um, I guess like the GUI, like the UI for some of the stuff isn't always as nice, but I find it a lot more fun to work with. Um, okay, so let's just check on this. So hopefully this works. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to figure out why this failed, and I'm curious if it's going to fail when it runs on CI as well. There was actually a piece of code that I did not copy over that's in my other project, which might be relevant. Um, in my other project, we had a like resolution strategy on our dependencies because in that particular project we found something weird that like two different libraries or two different tools depended on different versions of JaCoCo. So we added this piece of code that forced them to use the same version number, which would be like this code right here. You do like configurations.all, you give it a resolution strategy, each dependency. We say if the group is org.jacoco, we force version 0.8.7. Ooh, this is interesting. This unit test failed. And that's probably why. It probably wasn't a code coverage issue. It's probably the unit test failed. Huh. Okay, let's figure out why that happened. Parse state string for future. Let's run this locally and figure out. Hey, Avzal, thanks for coming by. We just got done. Already catching bugs, yeah. We just got done adding a code coverage tool into our code base. We're waiting on GitHub Actions to run so we can look at our code coverage, but I don't think it's working because, oh, interesting. Huh. Okay, so the expected date format, we changed this. Ooh, okay. This is one of those tests that totally failed because we entered a new month. And so when we were testing this before, it never failed because the date format just happened to be 2 days. I don't know if y'all saw that in the output, but it was the difference between 4th and 04th. Um, this goes to show why I hate date testing sometimes, because this shit can happen. Um, so yeah, I'm actually curious. I don't know the answer to this. If a coverage report is still generated if your tests fail, um, we'll find out from the CI in a second. But I'll go ahead and push this and say fixing broken test. Um, and we might just have to wait for it to run again. But I can also check. Um, oops, coveralls, and that's still nope. That's still going. Um, can you also see? I'm looking at it on my screen. Does this still feel like enough IDE space? I never have. This is my first time trying like putting the visor window in the same screen, and I think this looks pretty good. Um, I might have to start doing this from now on. Um, so I can't use a fixed date in tests strictly because of what this is doing. So what this, what our, where is it? We have code in here that checks like if the date is today or is yesterday, is today, is tomorrow. So if I pick a specific date, like yes, that would work until I decide to stream on that specific date and I get today as the output. Um, so I think it's fine actually. The biggest issue was I changed the UI date format here, but I've not changed it in my tests. And it was just coincidence that the two different formats give the same output on a certain window, which I guess is bad. But now we've caught it. Um, maybe what I should have done is made like a put like a constant here. Can you make it a fixed date in the past so that you know you won't stream on that date? I suppose that could work. I should not stream in the past, but I think really okay. So I think another way I could future-proof the test is to put this string as a constant and reference that constant in both places. So I don't necessarily have to update the string in my tests. Like, you know what I mean? We could do something like this. I guess we could put it here. Um, date header format. Oh, this needs to go in a companion object. So then here, instead of UI date format there, we do date header format. And then inside our test, we do task list view state dot date header format. And so now we've got like that fixed date format. So if I ever changed it again, if I ever change what the like full date format should be, then our test should still pass there. So this is better. Let's use that using a constant for date format between app code and test code. But each time I push, I'm now waiting even longer for an action to run. This is fun, but we'll get there. Coco type, what time do you usually start streaming? Is it like in an hour or? Hi, Illustrator. Oh, hi, Calusi. Thank you both for coming by. Um, Glad you could join us. We are working on code coverage. So right now we're kind of taking a little break. We added a code coverage tool into our code base, and we updated our GitHub Actions to generate the coverage report and send it to this website called Coveralls, which will be able to report on our coverage information. Um, and we are really just waiting on the CI to run so that we can do that. Um, Let's check on. Okay, so here we fixed the broken test. Let's watch this one. Let's see if we can get some info on. Let's go to the Actions tab. Who using the Android emulator runner on the CI2 has been working well. Yes. Yeah, that's what I use. It works great for me. I haven't tried to do anything fancy other than have it run the tests. So I haven't tried to do, as an example of something fancy, sometimes people like to do snapshot testing or get like videos of their UI test running. I haven't tried that. I don't know how that would work out, but for starting up and running my tests on the emulator, it works pretty well. Okay, let's do code coverage. Um, I guess, mm, which one do I want to look at? Um, this one, I think. Ugh, yeah, this is going to take a little while. So we'll just chit chat for a little bit. Or I guess I could check on one of the first ones. This is probably closer to done, but like I said, I wasn't sure if this would work because I don't know if it works if the tests fail. Um, let's see. Oh, well, good morning. Um, okay, so this failed because I'm pretty sure. Ooh, unable to generate JaCoCo report. So I think the answer to that is no. I don't know if it failed because the test failed, or if there was something else wrong with our setup early on. Um, so we might just have to wait for um, that stuff. Had to move to Firebase Test Lab for our private repos because the macOS runner was costing us too much. Ah, yeah, I've used this on a couple private projects, and I run into like a usage limit. I'm surprised. I think it's cool that they make there's pretty much no cap on actions for public repos. I think that's a really cool way to like encourage like open source and coding out in the open like this. Uh, I would definitely have to reconsider how I do some of this stuff if I had to pay for all my actions. But ooh, um, Hilt Navigation Compose is stable. Well, Navigation Compose is also stable now. That's cool. Or 2.4.0 is also stable. Anyone hear any rumors on when Compose 1.1 is coming out? I feel like it's soon. They moved into the beta stage or the release candidate stage, didn't they? Um, let's look that up real quick. Jetpack Compose releases. It's in RC03 now. So it's got to be soon, right? Like, what is new in RC03? Let's look. Um, oh, they updated Compose material dependency. Does anyone know? Have I tried Glance Widget? Not yet. Um, not yet. I would like to. Does anyone know if there's a high level like list of what's new in 1.1.0? I'm sure they'll release like a condensed changelog when it happens. Um, I keep seeing a lot of animation work as I scroll through here. Was that the big? That might be the big highlight of 1.1 is compose animations. Oh, wait, no. I'm seeing a lot of animations because I'm looking at the composed animation release notes. That makes sense because that was just what I happened to click on. The notes are by each thing. So let's look at Compose UI for their 1.1 release notes and see. So right, there's Compose material. We've got, ooh, semantics node interaction that capture to image. Bucking Bronco. Wait, what is that? Yeah, Bucking Bit Bronco. Thank you for the follow. Um, so is this? Oh, let me zoom in here, y'all. So there's a. Oh my god, where is it at? I saw this. So there's semantics node interaction that captured to image. Is this a way of like doing snapshot testing? I wonder if this exists already, but that's pretty cool. Um, Pointer changes, mouse scroll wheel, compose not idle exception stuff. Just scrolling through for anything that might stand out. Added experimental bring into view API that lets you send a request to parents so that they scroll to bring an item into view. Interesting. Um, Added modifier.pointer hover icon. Interesting. So that's probably for like desktop apps. That's pretty cool. Hmm. Implementation of exposed drop-down menu. Interesting. Hmm. Cool stuff. I'm excited. It probably can't be too much longer. Um, when did RC03 go out? January 26th. Yeah, they're close. And they're already running into 1.2.0 alpha versions. Crazy. Oh, oh, yo. 1.2. Matt, are you here? Added Wear OS device IDs to preview devices list. So you could, it makes it easier to do compose previews for Wear OS stuff. That's cool. That's exciting. Um, yeah, 1.2 is going to have a lot of Wear OS stuff, it looks like. Because there's just two alpha versions, but they both have Wear related release notes. Let's check in on our unit tests. They're running, but should be close now. Hopefully. One can dream. I would like to get a smartwatch again. I actually have like a standard Fossil watch that I need to get resized because it's too big. I haven't made time. My headphones are dying. What a time to be alive. Ooh, can I charge them while I wear them? Maybe, but I'm not going to. But yeah, so I think the plan, like I said, the plan for tonight was to get this code coverage stuff working. Um, and then once it is working, then maybe we could just kind of like write some tests. I feel like testing has been not neglected, but like deprioritized in these live streams. But I would like to get a little more um, support in this app, or we could do some UI work as well. Uh, let's show off because there are some follow-ups to last week that I would love to fix, um, or just keep adding to. So for those of you who weren't here last week, we went over supporting like completed and incomplete tasks and seeing those lists in the UI. Um, We'll show y'all what that looks like in a second. I'll wait for this to run. Um, or actually, maybe I still just have it. So empty state's still not there, but if I were to make a task for today, it shows up in this like incomplete tasks section. And if I mark it as done, it moves over to completed tasks. And that is just continues. So that was fun to build, and it's kind of cool the way this works is by like observing two different flows of like incomplete and completed tasks and then merging them together. Or at least that's what this one open PR is supposed to be doing, but it's a whole thing. That those tests are failing, and it's kind of confusing about why that is the case. Um, yeah, so I'm just thinking about um, those test cases now. Still can't figure out how they're supposed to pass. Maybe we can look at that after we get this working. This should run soon. We've got to be close. Um, Afzal, are you still streaming somewhat often? How often do you stream? Do you have a strict schedule or no? Every Saturday around 5:30 p.m. Okay. Eastern time? Like America Eastern time? Or nice. Okay. I'll try to come by more. This Saturday evening I actually should be around because I volunteered to um, be a judge for a virtual hackathon, and they're having their judging at sometime Saturday night. So no plans for me this weekend, which I'm totally okay with. Um, okay. Our tests are running. Now we're running the ABD test. Yeah, so there are only three instrumentation tests in the code base, so they take like 5 seconds. Um, yeah, I'm excited to be there. I have so many ideas for this stream. I'll be working on. All right, I'm just gonna leak it. I'm hoping that when you all come here next week, we will have new sub badges. Wink, wink. Um, that's all I'm gonna say about that. So, but I was thinking because there's still so much like stream work that I want to do. I want to change the way the chat works. I want to set up where I can start finally having like guests and do some paired programming stuff. I'm really like impressed with the way Code with the Italians does it. Their setup is just phenomenal. Um, Switch your Prime stuff. We'll save it for next week, and you can get one of the new badges. Ooh, okay, it ran, and it looks like it was all successful. So the big thing is, aha! So now, if I go to Coveralls, um, we can see here there was. Let's go to. Whoops. So we had build run, not on development, on this branch, and we can see our coverage was 18.463%. Um, Not too bad. Better than my other side project. We can see some info in here on um, what's covered, and weird, it went down another one. But cool. I'm glad this is working. Um, so what we can do actually. So let's look at some other stuff here. So in addition to getting the coverage inside coveralls, um, if I go back to the repo, um, we can see here. So we actually see, ooh, I need to change this since I removed this status report. Um, if we look at the checks at the bottom of the repo, we can see like the percentage right there as well. I don't know if it will comment on the pull request. I don't think it will now, but if I make a pull request and it's going to change the coverage, I should get a comment on my pull request. So let's do that. Let's do a couple things real quick. First, we're going to go to branches, um, and uh, let's get rid of this because we changed that action. Um, we're going to say that coverage is a required check. Oh, nice. You can specify source. Um, I still want these to be my required checks for this branch to pass or for any branch to merge. Um, now that we've done that, this should be free to merge. Nice. And adding Coveralls integration. So yeah, so just like that, we've now got a nice dashboard where we can go and find our coverage reports for our code base. And the big thing is, like I said, being able to know, like, as your coverage changes. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to, well, first let's go to development. Um, we're going to make a new branch, and we're just going to write some tests and get our coverage up a little bit. So here's how we could do that using a tool like Coveralls. So if we scroll down, we see this list, right, of all of our files, and it starts by like, I think, sorts them by coverage. So this is actually cool. We can go through and like look at these um, screens that have, no coverage, and um, we could just pick one that we want to work on. Another thing we could consider is if something needs to be ignored. So like we have this like data module class here, right? We have repository module. These are our Hilt modules that aren't going to be referenced for many of our unit tests. So I think it's fine for us to just go ahead and ignore those. Um, so let me see. I'm just trying to remember how to do that. Um, maybe I don't. Um, we could ignore those, or we could just pick out one of these that we know that we could test and write some tests for those. So actually, one that stood out to me here is what did I do before working with Android? Nothing. I was in college. My first job outside of university was an Android app developer. This is pretty much all I've done professionally. Um, one of these classes that stands out to me here is this add task content. This is a big compose file that would be a great opportunity for us to write some tests. Um, actually, wait, hold on. We have an add task content test file. So why is that? Huh, why is the coverage for that 0? That's interesting. I wonder if that's um what are other okay, I want to take a look at other instrumentation tests we have real quick. We also have a couple in task list content, so let's look at that. Interesting. Task list content also has 0 covered. So this feels sketchy. This feels like our instrumentation tests are not being included in our coverage percentage. Um, why not? What are we doing wrong here? Um, just looking to see if I might have messed something up. So what I'm going to do to test this real quick, I'm going to run, um, let's run, what is it called? Create debug coverage report. We'll run our UI tests. Let's run that real quick and make sure we know where that's outputted. What I wanted to check was I want to make sure that these files down here, where we get like our coverage reports, I want to make sure these are correct. Because that could explain the difference in the coverage report. No, it depends on both. Um, it depends on test debug unit test and create debug coverage reports. And I saw in the actions output that both were there. So let's look at is it going to be app build outputs? Or just not app? Is it app build outputs? Is this? Um, hmm. No, this is a task that JaCoCo creates. This create debug coverage report, which should give us what we want. This works in my other project. I literally copied a bunch of code from my other project that should have an almost identical setup, and it worked over there. Um, does this say where it goes? Test results saved as file. Okay, that's fine. But why is there no coverage? One. Um, you just TDD'd some on your own. Congratulations. Isn't that so exciting? It always feels good. Um, huh. I swear this works in my other project. Um, at least I'm pretty sure it does. Now I want to go look at the Coveralls dashboard for my other project. Um, oops. Okay, yeah, my other project it's definitely working. Um, or is it? Okay, yes. Yes, it works in my other project. Go get some sleep, Raphael. Thanks for coming by again. Um, what if I run the combined again? That do something differently? Ah, I don't have any more water, so you're gonna Gatorade hydrate. Cheers. Um, Weird. What is wrong? I suppose if it doesn't work, it's fine. We can still find regular code to write some standard unit tests for and increase some coverage. Um, okay. Oh, wait, here we go. Code coverage. Um, so it worked when I ran, okay, when I ran the combined one, it worked. I mean, that's valid. Outputs, code coverage, debug Android test, connected. Ooh, interesting. So is this the problem? The star? Because I have another directory here that I don't think it expected. Could that be the issue? Why does it work on my other project? Um, where does it output it though? Let's look at that too. But if I go to, yeah, reports, wait, hold on, app build. I don't see the file in here, which is weird. Hmm. Yeah, it won't catch nested. Okay, let's try that. Um, okay, let's try that. Let's commit this, and so what we're going to say is trying to parse implementation test coverage file. So I'm gonna push this. I'm going to have GitHub Actions run, and then while it's running, we can actually go ahead and write some tests instead of sitting around for 13 minutes again. But let me at least get it running so we can multitask. Uh, Follow up to adding more tests. Um, okay, so we'll let that run. We'll see if that helps. Um, let's go ahead and so let's just kind of poke around. I'm gonna look and see if there's any files that I think uh, what is it doing? It's basically so it's running our two sets of tests, our unit tests and our instrumentation tests, generating a coverage file for both, and then we wanted to take those two coverage files and combine them into one and send that up here. But I noticed it wasn't working because like this file says it has 0% coverage, which is not correct because I definitely have instrumentation tests that cover this file. But while we're changing it to, I think the problem being this file for the instrumentation test coverage might not have been there. So we've changed this. Hopefully it can read the right file. While we wait to find out, I'm just going to poke through these and see if I can find other files. Oh, I did run it locally. Um, I guess I could run um, like coveralls here, but I'd have to set up an environment variable and everything. Um, Sorry, dog is whining. Um, yeah, it's fine. I mean, it offloads some of the work to CI to have it validate stuff. Like, and I think that's fine. That's what it's there for. So I just want to skim through some of these. I can definitely see files that should be being ignored, that aren't used in our code base, but I wanted to poke through to see if there was any sort of files where we could increase coverage. And it actually looks like for our um, unit test, we do pretty good. Actually, why is this only 33%? Oh, this one? Ooh, well, this doesn't tell me. This doesn't view the file. That's the one thing I don't like. Maybe there's a way to do it in Coveralls. Um, oh no, where do I? Um, is I wanted to see like why that was 33%. But Coveralls doesn't show me like which ones are missed. At least I don't know how to get to it. Um, so let's go to that. Oh, I bet you that's because um, it's probably because this get string method isn't called. Um, we could totally write like an instrumentation test for this, but I want to stick to, for now, trying to find tests that don't require instrumentation tests in case that other thing is wrong. Um, let's look at, maybe we can look at that class. Um, prod mark task is completed use case. Why was this only? Have a good night. Um, so let me show you all something that I wish I could do that's not in uh words. That's not in coveralls. So how do I do it? So I think it's like this. If I were to go to outputs, unit test code coverage, that's the die. Um, maybe it's just this one. Maybe it's just this. Get JaCoCo. So with the JaCoCo usually makes like a. Wait, did that run already? Um, okay, so it's like in here. Um, let me copy this path. So when you run your unit test, JaCoCo will make like an HTML report as well, or you can configure it too. And this HTML report is really nice because you can click through um, into like your classes. And then when I click on one, um, I can actually see a highlight of what is executed and what isn't. Um, and this is actually really interesting. Why are some of these red? Um, but like this is what I wish I could get from coveralls. Is maybe there's a way, but this would tell me about stuff that's not. Um, we can see some things that aren't here. Yeah, there was an error. And I know a little bit about this. Actually, I haven't figured it out. Maybe we can figure it out together. So if I click on a file, so Coveralls gives me an error um, where it says like source not available. And that's because it's basically trying to pull like this file. And I think I need to give um like so here. So there's a subdirectory. This will be added to the front of the file path. Um, use if your covered file paths reside within a subfolder of the Git repo. So this is true because source is actually inside the app folder. But if I did that, um, oh my god, now it works. I swear, rubber duck debugging. Last time I tried this, I've spent so much time and it didn't work. Um, oh my god. So okay, so here, I can use this from coveralls to actually see like what's not like what's not covered. Oh my God, this is great. And that should apply to all files if I'm not mistaken. So if I go back, um, let's look at list again. So if we go to like this one where we saw, okay, I wanted to see UI text. Um, it's exactly that. These functions to actually pull the value of the UI text are not used inside any of our unit tests. So we would need to run that, um, which is fine. We could totally do that. Um, I'm actually surprised this doesn't run. Oh, well, I think this actually will get used. Will it get used? I don't know. I don't know if this gets called in the other things. Anyways, I'm glad this is working. So now we can dig into this a little further. I actually wanted to look at this one. I was really curious about this. Um, oh, yeah, I guess this is not called because we didn't simulate. Um, we create this for our view model, but we don't actually call it. Um, let's do that one. Let's do that. So uh, this one, there are no tests for this. Let's write one. We'll do prod mark task as complete use case test. Um, that'll be a regular unit test. This will be a fun, quick one to write. So for this one, um, I guess we could just say this. We're just testing invoke. Um, okay, so we'll create a task. Um, ID can be empty, description can be empty, scheduled date, open date, that now, completed, false. So what we are going to do, we also need we need a fake repository that's a dependency on our use case. Um, we're going to need to make some changes in here, I think. Um, oh, we mocked this. Because we're going to want to do something. What is it? Hold on. Task repository. We need a way to verify this is called. So in our fake, we need that. We need verify task updated, which consumes a task. And then we could just do co-verify mock dot update task expected task. Um, and I think we technically need, if we don't care about the response, I think I can just do relaxed equals true. Um, so we've got that. Okay, we can get our use case now. Where we create a use case with our fake task repository. Um, we can do use case.invoke. And then basically what we want to do is, well, this will be run test. And then what we want to do, our assertion here is basically fake task repository dot verify task updated. Our expected task is basically going to be our initial task that copy with completed equals true. So we're just making sure that when I invoke this use case, I call the updated task. Technically, I should probably verify the return value as well. Um, mm, is that what I should really do? Maybe. It's better than just verifying this was called. Let's rethink that. let's say mock update task response um, or result. So task result or response um, result unit. I don't think we returned anything here. And then we can do co-every mock.update task returns result. So I actually don't want this to be relaxed anymore. Um, I will just return that response every time. And then what our test will be instead is here, so we'll have our completed task, copy completed equals true. We create our use case. We need to do the mock. So we do fake task repository. We'll say mock results will be result. We'll say result.success. Um, so fake task repository.mock update task result. So when we call this for a completed task, we want to return mock result. We get our actual result, and then we can say assert that result that is equal to actual result. And that's how we can verify this test works. Um, mock result. Let's run this unit test, make sure this works. And we can check on Coveralls real quick. That's still running. See, hopefully this gets going soon. Coco type, if you are starting soon, I hope you have a great stream. Are you going to be working on your highlighter app again tonight? Nice, our test passed. So we're already taking our coverage report here and making it a little better. Coveralls does not keep us where we're located. I'm trying to figure out what exactly I'm working on. That's me every week too. Let's see what's missing from add task view state. Oh, we didn't test any of those, which I guess um, we could definitely cover that in a UI test. God dang it. Um, maybe I need a better way to do this if I need to change this every time. What is our add task view model missing? We covered most of this. Um, do we really not test adding a task? Oh, we test invalid input. Okay, so I'm learning from this that we don't test um, adding a task successfully or an unknown error. Um, put together a roadmap for myself this year, but then I put it in places where I have two projects because I was like, this way when I get bored, I can pick whichever I feel like. Now I'm regretting that decision because now I have to actually make that choice. Yeah, I get that. I've kind of done the same thing with this because I've used like GitHub issues to record a bunch of stuff that I want to work on. And so a lot of times I just look at this and I'm like, oh, we'll just pick something out of this list. Um, I think this finished now. So let's go back and look at our code coverage report and see if it's better now. Um, oh, wow, okay. That fixed it. And our coverage rose to 41%. Uh, that is awesome. Uh, that's really good. So yeah, the issue was setting our coverage tool wasn't able to read I guess wasn't able to read the output file correctly, so we fixed that. And now, actually, I turned this on in the Coveralls settings. Y'all should see this. Um, Coveralls will comment on the pull request. Our coverage is 41%. Coverage increased 22.7%. Um, Huge win. So let's look at that build. Time to add a badge. Yeah, we'll definitely add it. Actually, that's a great point. I'll put it in this pull request as well. Um, let's do that right now. Markdown. So let's put that in the README. Should we just put it at the top? Yeah, I guess they all go at the top. We also need to update stream history. That's why Danger was yelling at me. Um, okay. So we'll get this running and then we'll look further into more tests. Or maybe we'll call it a night tonight, a little earlier. Um, Maybe we'll call it a night a little earlier. Feel like I could use an hour back. I usually stream till 10, but so let's just take a look at the tree for, or the list for this and see um what we can do. Actually, let's talk about a couple other things. Or should we? Well, so one thing is like these module classes. I'm definitely, I say definitely because I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that our Hilt modules aren't going to be used in a test, instrumentation or otherwise. Um, I'm just wondering if I'm wrong about that. Like, if I create an instance of main activity and those screens, will it be used? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if they get referenced. The generated code should run an instrumentation test, wouldn't it? Think so. So let's think about so maybe I can think about how it would be used. Because the other thing is, so if I start up my own main activity here, um, that creates my nav host and everything. Let's think about, okay, let's look at, I'm going to make another branch for this to test it out specifically. Um, we're going to test out Hilt test coverage. Let's call it that. Let's call it Hilt test coverage. Um, so let's look at an example where we could use it. So we have a login screen, which takes in this like destinations navigator and our login view model and does a bunch of stuff. So I'm just gonna write a test that, again, without getting into like a good test, let's write an instrumentation test that creates the login screen and see what happens and see if that actually, what gets covered by that. This will go an Android test. So here we need our compose test rule. Create compose rule. Um, we'll just call this render initial login screen. We can do compose test rule dot set content, and then we could do login screen. Um, at the minimum, I need to give it a navigator. I think Raphael said there was like a destinations navigator dot. Oh, this is an interface. I thought there was like an empty one. Oh, that's what it is. Empty navigation that I could use. We're not even going to run any assertions yet. We're just going to make sure these are executed. So first I'm going to run this to make sure this just passes. Because I'm always so nervous about, I guess what I was afraid to find out is like, what would this do? Um, I don't know that this will work. And part of why I'm afraid it won't is because like I'm not doing instrumentation with like actually I don't know. Like because if it's not creating an instance of my app, or is it? Will it have all my Hilt dependencies? I guess this is the learning exercise for us all together. It's taken a minute to run. I also want to see actually while that's running. Um, nice. The coverage badge works. Oh, here we go. Okay, so the test ran, but it failed. Let's see why this fails. Cannot create an instance of class login view model. Right. So yeah, that's I could dig more into this, but I think that's kind of understandable. Like Hilt doesn't know what to do. Um, I don't know the answer to that. Do we have runner in here? Um, our tester instrumentation runner is Android X test, Android JUnit runner. So let's see if we can Google some of this. What am I Googling? How to use Hilt dependencies in instrumentation. Hilt testing guide. Um, Hilt isn't necessarily for unit tests, since when testing a class that uses constructor injection, you don't need to use Hilt to instantiate a class. That's expected. We kind of do that already. Um, for integration test, Hilt injects dependencies as it would in your production code. Testing with Hilt requires no maintenance because Hilt automatically generates a new set of components for each test. Um, looks like there is a Hilt Android testing dependency that we need. So um, let's add that. Do I have to do... Okay, it looks like there's a little more. Let's add those first. Oh, I'm already in here. Um, I'll take a look at that in a second. I think what I have... I'm curious if what we have from the docs here will work. Do I have Hilt as its own? I'd have it as... Um, let's replace these. And then this can be Hilt version. Hilt version. Um, you must annotate any UI test that uses Hilt with @Hilt Android test. This annotation is responsible for generating the Hilt components for each test. Also, you need to add the Hilt Android rule to the test class. It manages the component state and is used to perform injection on your test. Okay, so we can do that. Let's copy this. Login screen test, we're going to add that. Let's do val. Hilt to Android test. I need to do a Gradle sync in order to actually import those. Why is this relevant? If you have other test rule objects in your test, there are multiple ways to ensure that all your rules work together. You could wrap them. I didn't know that was a thing. Um, Alternatively, you can use both rules at the same level as long as the Hilt Android rule executes first. Interesting. Okay. Um, Alternatively, you can use so you can give it an order. I guess I could try that out. Um, Interesting. I didn't know that was relevant. So let's do that. Just follow the docs. They probably know something I don't. Um, the other thing though, so next your test needs to know about the application class that Hilt automatically generates for you. You must execute instrumented tests that use Hilt in an application object that supports Hilt. The library provides Hilt test application for use in tests. We don't need a custom application for tests yet, so if I want to use the Hilt one, I need to configure a new test runner, create a custom class that extends Android JUnit runner in the Android test folder, override the new application function to use the generated Hilt application. Okay, we can do that. So that will go right in here. Oops, will that need to go inside Java? Yeah, okay. We'll call this custom test runner. And we also need to define that test instrumentation runner. So here we replace the Android version with our own, which should be com.adamcneely.toa. I think that's it. Yeah. Let's do sync. Okay, and then we'll run that test again and we'll see if that works. Sorry, I'm just checking something real quick. Good. Taking its sweet old time. This would be really cool though, because I've heard like I think with this, Hilt is also supposed to make it really easy to like replace dependencies in your tests. So I could have all my Hilt set up, and I think I just make like a test module that would have like test dependencies, and then all of my other code would still just work. Okay, this failed. Why? I still got cannot create an instance of class, blah blah blah. Um, I wonder why. Um, did I miss a step? Let's look at the Hilt testing guide again. Um, Hilt Android test. We have the Hilt rule. Um, I wonder if part of it is. I wonder if it's this thing. Like, okay, so let me tell you what I'm thinking. Inside here, we use this Hilt view model, and I wonder if that doesn't work well in our tests. So what we could do, could we? Can I can I just like create the view model myself? Do I want to do that though? Um, it's not here. Let's see if we can find it. Hilt view model instrumentation test. Actually, let me check the link that has all set. Maybe this would answer my mind. Oh, this is very close. Writing an integration test with Jetpack Compose and Dagger Hill. Okay, so I am going to skim through this really quickly. Nah, it's old. Does it answer my question? No. Like maybe. Um, I'm just skipping through to their test code to see. Okay, so we add the test dependencies. We have all of those. Um, oh, they show this fake module, which, um, like technically we should do this, but we don't have to. Um, but this is what I talked about earlier. You can make like a test module that Hilt will use. Um, okay, they show they make a Hilt test application again. Finally, write the test. Is it this? Do I need to call Hilt test rule.inject? That wasn't in the other testing guide. Wait, to inject types into a test, use @inject for field injection. Oh well, I don't do that, so I don't. My guess is that it's something about the Hilt view model call right here. Um, whoops, no, here. My guess is that it has to do with this. Um, not running correctly. Um, can I search for that? Okay, similar question here. Their code looks. Ooh, I see. They tried to inject the view model like that, which is interesting. Um, but the answer does not. Hmm. There's a link to a Dagger issue, maybe relevant. Unfortunately, this isn't really a method of testing we can support. Creating a view model without a backing activity would probably get into a weird place with behavior that would probably overall lead to blah blah. Interesting, but we do have um I mean we are launching an activity. Hmm. Yeah, my guess it has something to do with how Hilt creates the dependency, or Hilt creates that view model. I'd have to do more research on this. I don't think we're going to figure it out in this stream, so I'm going to park that idea. But if you are watching this on YouTube and you have ideas, drop them in the comments. I would love to know. Um, but 2 hours is a pretty decent stopping point. So let's get this merged in. Um, we can add more tests in the future, but cool. We got coverage up to 40%. We got that as a badge on the repo as well. Um, this actually, so well, that's another nice thing. So this will actually need to run. Um, for the branch, but once it eventually runs, that will be updated. Um, yeah, let's switch back over to webcam. Um, Thank you all for coming. Hope you all learned something. Hope test coverage was fun. Um, Make sure, if you all haven't checked this out, I plugged it last week, but I'll plug it again. I recently made a video on the imposter's guide to dependency injection, and I'm super proud of it. And also dropping a hint that there are more imposter guide videos coming soon, whenever I find time to do some recording. So do check that out. Um, I'm gonna go see if there's anyone to raid. Our iOS friend Coco Type was in here earlier, but I don't know if they are live yet.